Welcome in everybody to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and this is BP NFL. It's time to look at the props. That way we do every single Friday here on the program on Betting Pros. And our prop crew is back from last year because, darn it, they were just so darn good at it. It's the Welsh, everybody, taking a little break from the FP side and the baseball side of things. Because, yeah, baseball's still going on, folks, if you can believe it. And Andrew Erickson, the Undertaker himself. We're going to take a look at the prop market for week 1 in the NFL. And there's a lot of low numbers, too, out there. So make sure if you're looking to make some money, you hang out with us and you use the prop bet cheat sheet. It's over on the BP app, or go to bettingpros.com and look at the prop bet cheat sheet. You get all the analytic data, the projections from Fantasy Pros, and then you can match it with the best sports books and the best lines you could find. And that, my friends, is how you make money. So make sure you're using the prop bet cheat sheet and the prop bet analyzer for all your prop betting, because one thing we love to do around these parts, it's prop betting. And not only do we have props today, gentlemen, we've also got the touchdown calls. We're going to get to those a little later. Welsh, last night we had football. I didn't get to talk to you on opening day, but now I do. It was a fun game. Came down to the wire. We had a star emerge, potentially, in Isaiah Likely, and another one in Xavier Worthy. Who was more impressive for you yesterday?
Oh, man. I think Likely was the most impressive, especially when you look in the prop market. I think Bogman mentioned this. 16.5, 15.5 was around the range. You could have got the receiving yard marker. He absolutely destroyed it. Also, we had looked beforehand. I believe it was close to 10-1 you could have got for him to go over 100 yards. Rashee Rice looked amazing. Worthy showed off exactly what we expected, but it was the Likely situation that I think threw us all off, in that, is Andrews done? I don't know if it even matters if Mark Andrews is done or he comes back or it's a great time to buy. Isaiah Likely is going to be a dude week in and week out. I'm going to be fascinated to see what week 2's props are going to be for Isaiah Likely, because I'll jump in. If it's anything under 25 yards, which it might be, they might slow roll it a little bit, I'm going to be on the Isaiah Likely train. But he looked phenomenal, and many first reads from Lamar Jackson in that game.
Yeah, there were. Look, Andrews hasn't been practicing after the car accident. It was a Thursday night game. I don't want to write him off yet. But, Welsh, your instincts were so good already. You had Xavier Worthy already being the first touchdown scorer, and you gave it to Andrew Erickson. You handed it to him on a silver platter. Erickson, you cashed on it. Did you give Welsh a little bit of, I don't know, finder's fee?
Well, no, I want to point out, it wasn't my idea, because we did the show yesterday on Discord, fantasypros.com/chat. If people want to check that out, Andrew and I do a show, and we were talking Erickson all about Worthy. He's like, I like the ladder bets. I like this. I like that. So after the show, I start peeking through, and because he was like, I really wish there was like a first drive one. And I'm like, buddy, we got one. And I look and I find it. And then sure enough, we find I found 20-1. I think he ended up getting 17-1.
Yeah, 17,
and he goes, he's like, Welsh, come on. He's like, I got to get out of here. And then he was like, oh man. And then I text him. I said, you better have made that bet. And sure enough, I got just the JPEG comeback. Erickson made that bet. So I found it, but it was his call.
That's a good way to start off the year, right? I mean, the first touchdown of the season, you make money on?
Perfect assist I could have asked for. So shout out to Welsh for pushing me over the edge when it came to Worthy, because I had the first touchdown and the Ravens scored first. So I'm like, no. But I remember, wait, I made the bet that Welsh pushed me towards, because I wanted to look at the Chiefs on the first drive, because I was so convinced that when they first took the field, they were going to try to get the ball to Xavier Worthy. And just with his speed, I figured, hey, this guy could score. And I was concerned because, oh no, did I say he was going to get a receiving touchdown or not a rushing touchdown? I was like freaking out because I couldn't remember what the exact bet was. But again, this is why we have Welsh on the show. This is why Welsh is my best friend. That's why we're teaming up all year long on Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros. So Welsh, thank you for doing all the work.
I thought I was both of your best friends, so this is a little upsetting to me on two fronts.
It's a wolf pack. It's a wolf pack.
Is that, well, as analysts, sometimes we tend to overanalyze things and sometimes overthink good process to begin with. It's good once in a while when one of us bullies somebody else into a bet. It's like, no, this is really good. Go do this. I think that's good. We're going to do some bully bets later in the show. Let's get to Welsh's first pick of the week for week 1. Welsh, start us off on the right way, and let's start with a running back in Dallas.
All right, so we're jumping in. This was my favorite bet of the week. It had to get taken off at some point, and it was a ridiculously low number. Now, I'm going to tell you the number that I believe it is today. I got a little bit lower. We're going Rico Dowdle with the Dallas Cowboys rushing yards. I got it at 26.5. That number had jumped up to 28.5 yesterday. Most projections looked over, even we have our own projections here, PFF projections, which I respect, actually had him at 34.5. So there was a lot of run in between there. And that line continues to move for the running back that they are saying is a 3-down back, is the starter. But clearly the market is still worried about Ezekiel Elliott, and they're showing it by dropping a 26.5. But this is like classic week one, not understanding what the usage and the depth chart is going to be for some of these situations. And if you look at Rico Dowdle, all 3 games last year where he had 9 or more carries, this number cashed. Defensively, going up against the Browns, 16 of 19 games last year, the primary back hit this number. It's kind of goofy because I'm telling you like, hey, hit this number. I feel like when I say that, I'm treating it like this is like 45 yards or 52 yards. It's a low number. So they have, yeah, of course this hit, but that's the point of this. Rico Dowdle at 20, anything under 30, I think is criminally ridiculous. And I'm going to jump on. Now I may be surprised at the end of the day. We may see more Elliott. We may see more Dalvin Cook, but all the speak that we have had is they trust him. They view him as a 3-down back. And this is such a low number that it doesn't really matter like defensive scheme we're going against or it just doesn't matter. And also I think they're going to be up in this game, and they have a potential to be up in this game where they're going to want to establish the run, and they're just not going to go to old man Elliott and old man Cook. So Rico Dowdle, this is my favorite bet of the week because it is such a low number for a potential number one. So anything under 30, Rico Dowdle rushing yards for week one. Mwah.
Even if it's a 60-40 split, I feel like this is a crush number. 26 is a crush number. 28.5 is a crush number. Either way, I'm not worried about Dalvin Cook yet. I mean, how long has he been there? He's been there a hot minute, and he's done and dusted last year anyway.
This
I mean,
is old
come
as
on.
you.
He was so good he would have been in another camp earlier. Let's be honest, everybody.
Yeah.
People are looking for running back help. Let's not go crazy about Dalvin Cook. If he gets a carry or two, okay, great. Erickson, let's go to you for your first pick. And please tell me it's got to be an under, right? The Undertaker's got to start the season off right here, right?
No, I'm not going with an under here. I'm going with the over on a dusty tight end who's probably going to outscore Mark Andrews this week. Zach Ertz, over 3.5 receptions. So last year, Ertz, when he was healthy, he averaged just under 4 catches per game in 7 games played. Look at the defense he's playing this week, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They allowed the most targets, second most catches in yards to tight ends in 2023. Cliff Kingsbury loves Zach Ertz. Loved him so much. He played him over Trey McBride, despite McBride being a breakout superstar. And you look at the Commanders and their offense, you have Terry McLaurin, who's going to be the target leader. And after that, we're not really sure who could be the second player in terms of targets. So for me, considering Zach Ertz sat out the entire preseason, I think that he's going to have a big role while he's healthy in week one. So against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, chasing points as road underdogs in Jay Daniels' first start, I think that Ertz is going to be his check down option if he's not going deep to Terry McLaurin. So I like the over on Ertz, 3.5 receptions.
Well, the bar has been set very low for the Andrews fantasy scoring. So, hopefully anyone can go over that one. Welsh, let's go to you for another one here. I am on this next guy, but not for the reason you are. So let's talk about Daniel Jones, because I've already bet the over on the 0.5 interceptions for Daniel Jones.
Okay. I was curious, like what you didn't like about this. I think
no. This I like too. I just like the turnovers more. I see Daniel Jones and I get excited for turnovers. But Go ahead, let's talk about this prop, because I think this is also maybe a little duo bet here, maybe a little skinny parlay. Who knows?
I think it could play because what's one thing we know about Daniel Jones? He's not good. He's not very good.
Whoa,
his beard looks good though.
Shots fired.
I gotta say, the beard is a good addition. It makes him look a little tougher.
What's the second thing we know?
Happen. Yeah.
There's really no options on that team except Malik Neighbors. So this could be a Malik Neighbors option. So really where I'm going with this is you do have like the offseason injury stuff that he was dealing with, but I'm looking at Daniel Jones rushing yards, which definitely was a constant last year. They have Devin Singletary, who's going to be one of their big primary guys. They have one good wide receiver option in Malik Neighbors, and he's going to be running all around in this week one game again. And the rushing number they're throwing at us this week is 26.5. First off, he was averaging 34.5 rushing yards per game. And he hit this in 3 of 6 games played last year. So 50% of the time he was doing 50% of the time. It worked every time for Daniel Jones. And he's going to be running all around. It's a low number for him. We have seen some obviously primary RB-ish looking numbers a la Lamar Jackson for him when they had no weapons. Yes, they do have a couple in there, but this doesn't mean he's not going to be running around the sticks all day long. So I think this is just a low number. Projections, again, if you want to look at I use the Rico Dowdle rushing yard projection versus where it is. There was about an 8-yard cushion. You have an 11-yard cushion off of most projections for Daniel Jones in week 1, where he's over 37 yards projected running. So there you go. You've got massive value in that. You know he's going to be running around. I think they're going to be playing from behind. So give me Daniel Jones rushing yards. I think that's a low total. It's an easy get. And the only thing that'll change is if his legs are going to be going a little bit less, and they're going to just be handing off to Singletary and play action to Malik Neighbors all game. But I really like this one.
I think you can get some garbage time running around too. I like this one a lot. Yeah. This is a very astute wager, Welsh. Well done, my friend. Erickson, boy, you really were hitting the prop bet cheat sheet hard on the tight ends this week, eh?
Well, I mean, since Mark Andrews crushed all my dreams, I'm just going to chase the tight ends.
It's only week 1.
Continue to crush dreams. But this is what tight ends do all the time. We're like, tight end, so deep this year. This is going to be great. And then they're all terrible, and you're crying.
Nobody said that this year, though.
They're not all terrible. Likely was great yesterday. So they're not.
We did bet the overs on Likely. So
you know what we did. But the funniest part about Likely is, me, like in a lot of drafts where, stuff goes sideways, I'll just start, taking shots at tight end. And I have a bunch of Likely shares all on my bench. So I'm like sitting there now going, do I trade him everywhere? Do I sit on what do I do? I don't know. I think we're just going to wait it out a little bit. But let's the sky isn't falling quite yet at tight end. But David Njoku, an interesting guy, because last year the coming out party, after all these years of waiting, finally happened, but it was with Joe Flacco. So what do you see in week 1 against the Cowboys here?
I'm going to take the under on his reception set at 4.5. I don't like this game at all for points. Browns, Cowboys playing on the road. If the Browns win this game, like Vegas is suggesting because they're favored, they're going to win ugly. I don't see how this game is, offense is firing on all cylinders. This is absolutely great. Best of Dak, best of Deshaun Watson. Maybe 5 years ago, that would have been the case, but not in this particular matchup here. So I'm fading points in this game. And when I look at Njoku, he only caught more than 4 passes in one of Deshaun Watson's 5 full starts last season. So it was Joe Flacco that really unlocked David Njoku towards the end of last season. And I'm just going to fade his hot season stretch when we saw him with Watson. Watson wasn't peppering Njoku with targets. They have a new offensive coordinator. It's not Alex Van Pelt there anymore. So there's enough ambiguity for me to take this number that I think is pretty high at 4.5 receptions and take the under, especially when you look at Dallas and their defense last year. Allowed the fewest catches to tight ends. So I'm going to fade David Njoku.
While you're looking up the word ambiguity, you should also look up on the internet our Discord, Fantasy Pros and BettingPros.com. But specifically for all of you watching this show, it's all about the Betting Pros right now. BettingPros.com, that's where you can go /chat and you can join our Discord for free. That's right, for free. You got a lot of people posting in there. You got Matt Peralt in there all the time, who's always helping people out there, posting his bets. You've got live shows going on our Discord on the fantasy side. So there's a lot happening there. And we want you to be a part of our Discord. So make sure you go over to fantasypros.com /chat and bettingpros.com /chat. That's the spot for all of you. You can go in there and talk with the other folks who are in there betting. We've got over 30,000 people in there already. It's an incredible group. It's a great community. We want you to be a part of it. So make sure you go join that today. Again, bettingpros.com /chat. Now let's get to your next pick, Welsh. We have some running backs in new places. Aaron Jones is one of them. He has moved all the way from Green Bay to Minnesota, and we're back to this Giants game again. So what do you like here when it comes to Jones?
Well, I like him getting volume. As we're staying in that same game we were talking about. I actually will tell you, I was between two sides of this because I believe his receiving yard total is low. Running back receiving yard totals, oh man, it's like the Pied Piper. I'm like, like I just do flute to the low RB receiving totals I just flocked to. And it was low this week. It's 13.5. But also, it was a little juiced. Where was it? Where do we want to go? The reception. That's where we're getting plus money. So I'm going with Aaron Jones receptions, 2.5 at plus money. It was around plus 120. Might float down a tiny bit as you guys are checking this out, but I really do love this. 6 of 11 games last year, Jones caught 3 or more passes. 8 of 11 games, he had 3 or more targets. And this is an interesting one too with Darnold. Darnold running the offense. We should see more screen passes just in general as he is, early into the season. He's trying to figure out where the ball's going to go. His safety net, they don't have Hawkins, and the safety net is going to be Aaron Jones. Last year, 13% of Darnold's passes were at that 0-yard marker that's defined using fantasy points data. And that can be like behind the line of scrimmage. 18% of his passes were in 2022. Fun fact, he didn't have a ton of run last year, but between last year and 2022, he only had one incompletion to whatever player was at that 0-yard marker. And I know it's going to be like high completion rates in general for that 0-yard throwing, but one incompletion in the last 2 years at that 0-yard marker. So think we are going to be looking safety net for Aaron Jones. He's as healthy as can be. They're going to want him involved. There's also the possibility that you're going to have some of the backup running backs coming in to go between the tackles, get Aaron Jones open in open space. Plus, if they're playing from behind in any capacity, you're going to be throwing the ball more. It's a low total, something that he does. As I mentioned, he hit this over 50% of the time last year. Targets way up. Darnold likes to throw behind the line. Aaron Jones, 2.5 receptions plus money. That's why I like it so much. Safer would probably be the receiving yards.
Erickson for our next prop here. The Buffalo Bills' Stephon Diggs fled town to Houston, and that has vacated a lot of targets. A lot of people think that Khalil Shakir can be one of those guys who's going to fill that void. But what does the Undertaker have to say about that?
I'm going to fade the public and take the under on Khalil Shakir, under 47.5 receiving yards, because that's the highest. If you look at all the Bills wide receiver receiving props, he has the highest one. So the market is saying we're the most confident that this receiver, Khalil Shakir, is going to be the leading receiver for the Buffalo Bills in week 1, and I'm going to fade that. I just think that there's more ambiguity. Again, I looked it up during the break. I know what that word means now. So I'm going to fade the ambiguity when it comes to Khalil Shakir and the Buffalo Bills. The Cardinals were a top 6 unit against slot receivers last season. Looking at what his role in this offense will be, I think that he's still going to continue to be operating from the slot. And you mentioned how there's vacated targets because Stephon Diggs no longer a part of this offense. Gabe Davis no part of this offense. But Diggs wasn't really part of this offense in the second half of last year. Mm-hmm. And Shakir actually outgained him when Joe Brady took over. But what did that actually translate to in terms of him hitting this number? 9 games, he went over 47.5 receiving yards twice. 2 times, despite having a bigger role in this run-heavy offense. What's the Cardinals' biggest weakness on their defense? It's against the run. And Joe Brady wants to run the football. So I don't know if we're going to see an aerial attack here in this particular game. So I like the under overall in the game. And therefore it trickles over to these receivers. To take the under on Shakir, 47.5 receiving
Also
yards.
want to point out, I actually almost went Curtis Samuel receiving yards this week because that number, I believe, was around 28. It was low because they don't know. And he is one of those guys that is going to be put in that starter role. Also, he is that shorter yardage player that they're going to want to get the ball in his hands. If you were to play a receiver, I think Curtis Samuel is the guy to play. So I really like that.
The foot injury doesn't bother you at all? See how
he's good to go. He's good to go for this.
He's been practicing.
Yeah, I know he's been practicing, but it doesn't mean the foot injury doesn't bother me.
He'll be out there.
I was bothered this morning when I saw the report about, it's a McCaffrey calf and an Achilles that was bothering him. I was like, when did we get the Achilles? What did I woke up this morning and all of a sudden
the regression is coming?
And Achilles. He's also got kidney stones and he's got a hairline. He's got a couple things. Really? Like what? Every day there was like something else that was popping up there. I gotta watch that. I want the injury reports nice and clean. All right, the next guy is poised for a breakout season. Welsh, the number for Bijan Robinson. I've already bet this one. I've logged my bets. Again, you can follow me, bettingpros.com/Joe. This is one I logged this morning when I was going through all my early betting for the weekend. Welsh, you and I are hand in hand on the Bijan Robinson over for rushing this week.
Yeah, you can follow me, bettingpros.com/Welsh, and you can see this bet as well, getting it in early. I have had a lot of doofy players here. Daniel Jones I'm making bets on. You have to diversify a little bit and get like amazing players into your bets. Otherwise, you'd be like me betting Justin Watson on Thursday Night Football. That doesn't feel good for anybody. But
did he hit?
No, he didn't. He had one. He
did have that one big catch.
When I saw him make that one catch, I was like, "Go well."
Why does it always feel like one of his catches is like 4? Because I don't know what it is. It's like the drama of it. Like it's always a Mahomes breaking loose, and then like somehow Justin Watson's there wide open and catches a football. And it always feels like at the end, how did Watson? Did he have a good game? No, he just had that one catch.
We did have a Juju sighting too.
I know he dropped the pass.
He dropped the ball. Yeah.
AB tweeted a crying emoji for that drop too. I'll point out, I talked myself out of, I had Watson receiving yards, but then it was plus money on the receptions, and I didn't. But shout out to Matt Peralt, who did go with the receiving yards on Watson, which I should have done, but it did not cash. So back to it. Bijan Robinson. We're playing Bijan Robinson's rushing yards. It's 63.5. Like I said, it may have jumped just a tiny bit. That's a number you're going to see if you follow me on Betting Pros that I got. Projections over 70, 72. Every game with 15 or more carries, Bijan hit this number. So you have to ask yourself, will we get 15 carries from Bijan? All reasonable people are going to say, yes, absolutely. His projected line, by the way, is 15.5. And the Steelers, they averaged 96 rushing yards given up per game last year to RB. So this to me is a smash. You want to, I have a ton of shares of Bijan Robinson. They're going to give him the rock. I feel comfortable over 15. The stats from last year say he will hit it. So Bijan Robinson all day, every day, rushing yards. I'm taking it probably all the way up into the high 60s, wherever you see it, but I got it at 63.5 over.
Yeah, good offensive line there, and I want to see that commitment that everyone keeps talking about to running the football, especially since you want to ease Kirk Cousins into things a little bit too, coming off that injury. So Bijan all day, every day. Erickson, breakout star last year. Nico Collins, his number is at 66.5 for the receiving. Are you going over or under?
I am going over here. I need to have a fun prop like Welsh.
Yes.
Because he has all the overs. So I figured, hey, why not live a little bit?
What, the Zach Ertz over isn't fun for you? That sounds like a jolly
fun.
good time.
Is it fun? No, it's
a
not. Not on these. Yeah, because he's going to catch 4 passes for 10 yards. And be like, yeah, cash, baby. Let's go. Still outscored Mark Andrews. Okay, back to Nico Collins. So last year, really, it's about the matchup. So again, we have some question marks about who's going to be the Texans wide receiver 1 this year. But in this particular matchup against the Indianapolis Colts, Nico Collins went over 66.5 receiving yards in both games versus the Colts last year. I think that he has such a great advantage against some of these perimeter Colts cornerbacks. When you look at Gus Bradley's defense, he loves cover 3. Collins was the wide receiver 3 in yards per route run versus cover 3 in 2023 per Jacob Gibbs from CBS. When you look at the Colts, their best cornerback is Kenny Moore, and he plays in the slot. So I think Collins, as that number 1 outside receiver in this offense, I think that he's going to have an absolute day. I think he could go over 100 yards in a shootout between the Colts and the Texans. So I just love him in the spot to absolutely erupt.
All right, last one before we get to the touchdown calls. Welsh, give me another prop for week 1.
All right, we're going to go back to just living the low life of these low life players, not the Bijan Robinsons. We're going to go to Chuba Hubbard, but I do know that our boy Erickson loves Chuba. I'm down with the Chuba as well. And like the Pied Piper, you give me low receiving yard totals to backs that they are going to throw the ball to. I'm going to just kind of run to it. Chuba Hubbard receiving yards, 12.5. That's actually right around the projection marker. Last year against the Saints in the first game, he crushed this. He had 5 targets. Didn't run a ton. The second game, he didn't have a lot of receiving targets because he had over 23 carries. I do not believe that they are going to be up in this game. So this is not going to be a 20-plus carry Chuba Hubbard. This is going to be a we are chasing our tails a little bit, and that's going to be dump-offs to Chuba Hubbard. So I think we are going to get plenty of him. Their only other option is Miles Sanders, and they hate him. We know Chuba can get the volume. He will play the volume. He's good out of the backfield as a receiver. This is a low total. I also think his receptions is at 2.5. So I really like this potential at a low 12.5 number on the receiving yards for Carolina to be playing from behind. So Chuba Hubbard receiving yards, 12.5. Gimme, gimme, gimme.
Yeah, I love the low numbers. You know, sometimes everyone looks at the stars, they look for these big numbers and stuff like that. Sometimes it's really easy to make money on some of these low numbers. The Ramondre Stevenson, 10.5 receiving yards too. It's another smash for me this week too. Like that's another one that just makes so much sense. All right, Erickson, give us your last prop for week 1, and then we will turn our attention to the end zone.
I'm going to go with 49ers guy here. So Welsh, you're going to love this one. Deebo Samuel over 10.5 rushing yards. So we know Chris McCaffrey, he's injured.
Yeah, he's dead.
So we
he's
don't
the
know
worst player in the league. His Achilles is broken.
He's got an Achilles and calf injury now.
They're gonna put him on a wheelchair, wheel him out. Okay, Christian.
No,
4 yards.
Look, all the jokes aside, the Achilles thing was a little bit of like a what, where, how? This is new. I'm just saying, like, that didn't upset you at all as a 49er fan. That just kind of like They just kind of drop that
McCaffrey's a
on you
married
this morning?
man now. This is what happens.
This is what
You wake
happens.
up with
You get
injuries
married,
that
you get old
didn't
like
know, that
Erickson,
went
you
to
turn
bed
30.
thinking,
Dude,
we're going to be fine.
I'm 41. I started running. My calf and Achilles, they're kind of attached and next to each other. I thought I blew out my Achilles. It was actually just my calf. They're kind of attached. So no, I think it's all in the same general area.
Fine.
But we'll find out when they wheel him out and they just throw him through the line behind
this
Trent
week
Williams.
I'm Team Welsh. Everybody knows. I've already planted my flag on the 49ers.
You
They're
hate
my
Aaron.
survivor
Well-
pool pick of the week, too.
Oh.
Welsh. That's
Wow.
how confident I am. And if your 49ers let me down, so help me God, next Friday, I'm going to lose it on this program. Just absolutely on the load.
All right. Well, back to Deebo Samuel. So I think that he's going to go over 10.5 rushing yards. It's less about McCaffrey, more about Elijah Mitchell placed on injured reserve. I think that we could get more run from Samuel as just a running back. You look at games last year where Elijah Mitchell was inactive. Samuel saw at least 3 carries in 4 of those 6 games. And I think he can get 10 yards on one carry, whether it's an end around, whether it's a red zone opportunity. I think that they're going to feature Deebo Samuel more, considering McCaffrey is coming off of this injury that he's been dealing with in the preseason. I don't know how involved we're going to see from Brandon Ayuk. Trent Williams is coming back from the contract holdout. So I think Deebo Samuel is going to be the featured piece in this game as the 49ers try to beat the Jets at home. So I think Deebo's going to be involved a lot as both a receiver and rusher. So I like the over on his rushing yards.
Completely agree. And if you get 2 carries out of Deebo, that's where I think this is going to be able to cash too. Like they are going to end around him. They're going to do a quick sweep around, go through Trent Williams, 5 to 6 yards. He can get this in the first one. I wouldn't sleep on Jordan Mason because I think those stats are, it's a little bit skewed to like when Eli Mitchell wasn't there, because Jordan Mason looks already like a better back than Eli Mitchell. And I think they are going to feature him in some instances, but like somewhere between 3 and 4 carries for Deebo is completely reasonable. So I really like this one.
It's what you've all been waiting for, the week 1 touchdown calls, and Welsh and Erickson and I are going to give them to you. The guys that we're betting on to get in the end zone. And of course, we got a touchdown call contest going on our Discord. You can go join that. We've got a lot of fun things, but look, it's more fun to make money on these things. Erickson is still flaunting around the Donald Parham one from last year. He's still living off that. No more. It's a new season. Now you got to start fresh. You got to start over here. So where do we want to start? Welsh, give us a guy that you think is going to get in the end zone this weekend. And I've got a special little end zone special for everybody. Stay tuned. More on that. Welsh, what do you have here for the people?
All right, so I have a deeper play touchdown and I've got a more obvious play touchdown. So I'll start with my deeper play touchdown. It's my favorite of the week. It is Gus Edwards with the Chargers. Anytime touchdown. It's plus 260, 270 even. That kind of pushed and moved around. I love Gus Edwards in this situation. They said earlier this week when asked about the running back side, they said they're going to play hot hands. It's going to be committee. Everyone, J.K. Dobbins. I'm a J.K. Dobbins guy. J.K. Dobbins looks great. That's fine. Good. We want J.K. Dobbins to be great. You know why? Get us around. Get us 5. Get us 10. Get us to the red zone. Get us to the 5. You know why? JK, go sit down, go rest your legs. It's Gus Bus time because Gus Edwards will be the guy inside the top 5. Last year, Edwards, he was 12th in the NFL in teams' percentage of carries at the 5 at 65.7%. That's not going to change. He also had the 3rd highest touchdown rate after Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. He was the guy, especially inside that 5. So the question can be is if the Chargers don't get into red zone opportunities, he's not scoring. If they get within the 5 or the 10, Gus Edwards is coming in. They will pound the rock with him. This is now going to be a run-based team. I am firmly confident the ball is going to Edwards inside the top 5, but we are going to have to get in there. It's just my favorite call of the week. Plus 270. I put it in the contest, so I can't use him anymore. So that's how much it is. I put the bet in. Gus Edwards, anytime touchdown, my favorite this week.
All right, so we'll get to your chalky one in a second. Andrew, give me a name that's going to find pay dirt in week 1.
If you think Gus Edwards is chalky, say hello to Dave Montgomery. Minus 110 to score a touchdown. I just think, look, if we're trying to see, remember last year, the conversation was, okay, McCaffrey scores every single week. How can we just keep betting that same anytime touchdowns and just keep using those same funds over and over and over again? Maybe Dave Montgomery's that guy this year. So I just think that he's still going to be the goal line back that they deploy, just like they did last year, especially with Gibbs coming off of a lot of off-season injuries against the Rams with the Detroit Lions' elite offensive line. No Aaron Donald. Dave Montgomery might score 3 times. on Sunday night. So I'm going to get ahead of it while I can and get ready for some David Montgomery touchdowns. Because when we look up at the end of the year, he's going to have 10 plus touchdowns. So just get started now.
Are you telling us we should bet the 2 touchdown for David Montgomery? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I mean, that's more fun. That's more what Andrew Erickson really wants. But I want to be right here. So let's get the minus 110. I got a more fun one. My second one is more fun.
All right. Well, this one is fun, but it is very chalky. It's not one but 2 guys together. So Bijan Robinson is minus 105 to score, and Ken Walker against the Broncos is minus 105 to score. So that being said, you can bet them both separately, which I have. And you can put them together in a little pairing. And when you do, you get almost 3-1 plus 280 is what you're getting when you put those 2 together. To me, I say, well, sometimes it's hard to get some of these touchdowns. You want to look at the big plus money. Why not just take 2 guys who are almost locks to score this week and put them together and then let the chalk work for you? That's what I'm going to do this week. Bijan, Ken Walker, pair them together, plus 281. That, my friends, is a great way to find the end zone. I've got another version of this, too, I'm going to throw at you. But, Welsh, let's get to your chalky touchdown call of the week, because I think you got a big name who I may or may not be wearing the merch of one Justin Jefferson.
Wide receiver 1, baby. Justin Jefferson has the top PFF wide receiver cornerback matchup of the week. He's going to be Sam Darnold's number 1 target. Addison's been a tiny bit banged up. I told you I like the Aaron Jones stuff. That's kind of my play here. Addison, we don't know quite where he's going to be. We have Aaron Jones and we have Justin Jefferson for what could either be one of the worst games, just back and forth of just garbage play, or there could be some bad defense with some slinging the ball. And yes, Darnold does like to throw the ball short, but Jefferson's going to have double-digit targets in this game. I have very little doubt about that. We also have an establishment of what we need to be from last year. He was setting himself up in some of the bad quarterback play to be like a 2,000-yard receiver. He was averaging over 20 points as a fantasy asset, and Darnold is fine. Darnold is a totally fine quarterback that is going to be targeting him left and right. I do think this defensive matchup will put the Vikings in some red zone opportunities. But either way, I think Justin Jefferson's going to break a big play. So this is my chalk one, and you're getting plus money on it. I got around plus 125. So this isn't like I'm taking a big minus money play. I think the plus comes from no one knows what the hell Darnold is going to be in this offense and how he's going to move the team. I actually probably feel more confident than others, but I absolutely love the matchup. Give me one of the best cornerback wide receiver matchups with one of the best wide receivers. That equates to touchdown. So give me plus money on Justin Jefferson anytime touchdown.
Confident and Darnold, 2 words not heard very often in the same sentence, but you got to hear on Betting Pros today. Erickson, give me another guy who's going to get into the end zone. Give me your fun one for the week. We want the fun.
So I need to root for something. I need to feel something when I watch these Patriots games. So
are you dead inside? What's wrong with you?
I mean, if we watched them last year, that's how I felt
that's
the entire time.
Fair point.
So, and Drake May's not the starter yet, so I need something to cheer for. So for me, I look at the odds. I'm always trying to look at some long shots. I really like the first touchdown bets, but I was surprised. Hunter Henry is plus 500 anytime touchdown. He has longer odds than Jalen Polk, Demario Douglas. They're not going to those receivers in the red zone. It's Ramondre would be the number 1 option as the starting running back, and then it should be Hunter Henry. So I think it's just a value play. I think this number is way too long. Again, I don't think the Patriots are going to get shut out entirely. I think they're going to have opportunities to score. I don't think the Bengals defense is super elite where they won't find themselves at least in the red zone a couple times. So Hunter Henry is the number 1 red zone option. Alex Van Pelt, looking last year, he is familiar with the Cincinnati Bengals defense and how do you attack them. Last year, the Bengals were the second worst defense against tight ends, allowing the most catches to the position. So when they get in close, I should say, if they get in close, I feel very confident it will go to Hunter Henry. So at plus 500, I like that.
I was about to say, I wonder what the no touchdown for the Patriots would look like this week. That might be a nice plus money
Easy.
play.
It's only week 1. Easy.
That's only available at the Andrew Sportsbook.
Jacoby Brissett is very capable of managing your team to a good 13,
he made Jack
14
Doyle
points.
tight end.
Are we
one.
talking
That's right.
about Sam Darnold and Jacoby Brissett on this podcast? Oh my God.
That's only week 1. All right, last one for you. Anthony Richardson plus 115. Look, I know people will say the narrative is, well, we want to make sure we protect Anthony Richardson. Look, when these guys get on the field, they play football. And Anthony Richardson is going to go out there and he's going to score. He's going to have a rushing touchdown. I'd be shocked if he did not in this game. It's a game that has potential for a big time total as well. And here's some more fun for you kids. if you put my chalky running backs along with Anthony Richardson and throw in another chalky Tyreek Hill touchdown, 8-1 you're getting on that. And that sounds like a lot of probable things for Bijan, Ken Walker, Anthony Richardson, and Tyreek Hill all to score. That seems like taking candy from a baby, and I want to take that candy, and I want to eat it, and then afterwards, I want to go buy some more with all the money I just made.
Yeah, baby.
That's right.
In my belly.
Look at you baby. All right.
The only way to live.
The only way to live. Take
Erickson,
it.
do you know
What a
that
funny
reference?
expression, too.
Do you know that reference?
Yes.
What's the
Austin Powers? Baby.
Oh,
Yay.
Very good. I'm very proud of
Andrew
you.
got one. He was like 6 when that movie came out, though. That's the problem.
I'm not sure if he was
I
born.
couldn't tell my parents. I only watched it at my friend's house because my parents wouldn't let me watch that.
Oh, late night sleepovers, watching Austin Powers.
Exactly.
You look like a baby.
You know, those movies hold up. My kids, actually, when their cousins came over last summer, they stayed up and they watched all 3 in one night. And they really do. They were committed, man. They started at like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and they just like stayed up all night and watched them. I gotta say, the Austin Powers still hold up. And hopefully the touchdown calls will hold up as well. And if you want to follow us for more content, what we're in on this week, make sure you follow us at bettingpros.com/Wells/Erickson/Joe. That's the way to do it. Join our Discord, bettingpros.com/chat, and of course, use the prop bet cheat sheet and the prop bet analyzer to help you get the most out of all your wagers. Sync your sportsbook for free. And of course, subscribe to the Betting Pros podcast wherever you get your pods. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Ring that bell till it goes ding for notifications so you can be with us every single week. We got the live streams on here too, not just the podcast, the Daily Juice. We got NBA starting soon. We got so much. We just want to give you content. That's all we want to do is just give you more content. So that's all the content we're going to give you just for today, but more to come. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For the Welsh and Andrew Erickson, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Happy betting.